This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. I wanted to discuss another symbol which is not as well known as the symbols that we all see every day, but I'm sure it's going to be pushed more and more, and that is the beehive. And I'm not talking about Beyonce's BEEHIVE, but it's not a coincidence that she uses the beehive as her nickname for all of her fans, because it's all about mind control. Now, before I get into what this symbol is about, keep in mind, when I expose some of these symbols, especially ones that are animals, it's not an attack on the animal. I mean, sometimes people will watch these videos, and instead of taking the message, they'll be defensive, right? I've exposed the owl before. Everybody should know what the owl stands for, the knowledge that they believe they have, the hidden knowledge, and how the owl is wiser. We see it at Bohemian Grove. We see it all over the place. It wasn't always the most known of symbols, but you've seen now, currently, owls are trending. If you go to the store, they are selling everything with owls on it. Pillows with owls. All you gotta do is turn on HGTV. Every time they do a renovation of somebody's house, they're stuffing it with pillows and all sorts of owl things. All right, and that's something that'll probably happen with the beehive. Now, the beehive has been seen in a lot of music videos. But the point I'm trying to make is, it's not an attack on the owl. This isn't an attack on bumblebees. This isn't an attack on people who enjoy honey, okay? If you're that sensitive, just don't listen to the channel. If you're that sensitive, you obviously shouldn't be here. Because if you're taking things like the owl and you're going, God made the owl, and it's crap that you're saying it's an evil symbol. It's a symbol that they use, that they always are flashing and showing us. They're leaving their mark on everything. It does not mean that an owl in the tree is the Antichrist. Just like this doesn't mean that bees are coming from the devil. Although bees are a real pain if you get a beehive on your back porch or something like that. Or wasps. Nobody likes wasps, but you get the point I'm trying to make. So let's get into the beehive. The beehive is a Masonic symbol. The Freemasons even acknowledge the use of the beehive. When they get to the third degree, they're told that the beehive is an emblem of industry and recommends the practice of that virtue to all created beings, from the higher seraph in heaven to the lowest reptile of the dust. What a coincidence, because they are the lowest reptiles. It goes on to say, it teaches us, being the Masons, this is what they are taught, so it teaches them that we, as we came into this world, rational and intelligent beings, if they like to call themselves beings, so we should ever be industrious ones, never sitting down, and never content, while our fellow creatures, which is us, they look at us as fellow creatures, around us are always in want, when it is our power to relieve them without inconvenience to ourselves. This was man formed for social and active life, the noblest part of the work of God, which is God to them. Obviously, everybody knows the God of Freemasonry is Satan, who they worship. So they're sitting there and they're even telling you, this is what they teach to one another, that us being fellow beings around are in want and in need, and they're the ones empowered to relieve us without inconvenience to themselves, to give us the things of our, to be the controllers in a sense. So the beehive mindset, right? In a beehive, you have a queen. The queen bee, everybody knows the queen bee and the beehive, right? And of course, that's the reference you get with Beyonce, right? We have the queen bee who feeds. The queen bee reproduces and fundamentally controls the hive. And in order to do this, she must somehow control every bee in that beehive simultaneously without them necessarily knowing it. This is achieved by the queen emitting a pheromone which is subsequently fed to or picked up by every drone in the hive and serves to override their natural functions and fundamentality, and then hypnotize them into serving her by feeding her, removing her waste, guarding the hive, which ensures her safety and survival, and of course going out to collect pollen. Now we see the beehive used even today, like how many times have I talked about American Horror Story and the predictive programming involved there? Every season they're revealing these things, including human sacrifice and the stuff they do to children. Well, this season, the show is called Cult. And the logo, the poster or whatever for the show, shows a person with their, the top of their head removed, and instead of having a brain inside, they have a beehive inside, right? This show called Cult, showing you the mind of the masses having this beehive inside, because all of these people, all the people we call zombies, people are going around following the agenda, listening to what they're, told to believe and told are truths. They're all under mind control, no different than the queen bee. Now you can see the beehive, even in these photographs, still used in masonry today, some of which say holiness to the Lord, and you'll see the beehive under the arch with the all-seeing eye at the top. Okay? The holiness to the Lord is not talking about Jesus Christ. They're talking about Lucifer, and they're talking about this beehive mentality. Now you'll see the beehive in other places, historic places. You'll see this type of architecture on Bank of America buildings. This one in Maryland has it. You'll see buildings like the Mayor of London's office shaped in the shape of a beehive. It's all Masonic. You'll see the all-seeing eye, you'll see a dove, and you'll see the beehive. Of course, you'll see the hand with the heart in the middle, because it's about love, right? Love and truth, they claim. The love of the Antichrist. The Parliament building in New Zealand is called the Beehive. So these are all Masonic, type of architectures that are out there, and they use that as well. It's not just, here's a symbol of a beehive in a movie or a music video. They use architecture. They use, if you go to Google Maps and Google Images and you look at above shots of what's below us from, a sky standpoint, you'll see stuff like, look at the Vatican, right? Now we all know how satanic the Vatican is. You'll see the phallus, right? But if you're standing there in the Vatican, you wouldn't notice it because you're on the ground level. They do this all the time with architecture, right? To mock God, showing it and shining it up at God, our Father above. So you'll see that with architecture. You see things in the shape of beehives. Obviously, know the One Trade Center. We know that we have the Washington Monument. All these types of architectures and monuments that are out there that are constructed have some type of link to Freemasonry and the occult. They go hand in hand with one another, and they won't hide it. They're not going to hide it and say, oh, no, that's not true. You can go through archives of, Freemasonry and things that they're taught. They're taught about the beehive. Remember, they believe that they're gods amongst us. And we're here to serve them, but they have power and control over us, so we have to bow down and go to them for needs, right? And think about the society we live in today. Well, we go to the grocery store to eat, right? People don't know how to eat for themselves because they didn't teach anybody. They didn't teach anyone how to forage. They didn't say, oh, you grew up in the Midwest, you grew up in the East Coast, you grew up in the South. These are things you should look for to forage. That's what people should be learning in school, right? In case something goes down, you can eat this, you can eat that, you can't eat this. You can't eat that, that's poisonous. They don't want to teach you that because they want us to have to turn to them for their groceries, for food, right? They want us to turn to them for housing. They want us to turn to them for everything, to make everything better. Their corrupt judicial system, the courts, which are all controlled by them, to keep them protected, not us. So the bee and the beehive, again, it's not an attack on any bee fans out there, okay? If you're a honey lover, it's not an attack on honey. But you can see this symbol flat out blatantly used in Freemasonry all the time. They don't hide it. You'll see it from time to time in music videos. Sometimes you'll just see bees. This is just the handlers, who are usually the producers, putting these symbols and signs in for their handlers or for their fellow, members in the brotherhood. It's all deliberately there. Symbols and signs, folks. This is where you can spot the enemy. This is where, you can see how they communicate with each other, how they mock us, and how they believe that they're gods amongst us. We're here to serve them. But also, when they have this esoteric mindset, this duality, your good deeds outweigh your bad, they believe truly, by allowing us to still live and be here, that they're doing good deed. They truly do. They think, oh, I can go kill somebody, but look at the goyim out there. They still come to us to eat and they still come to us for, a mattress or for a roof over their head or who knows what else. For soap. I mean, all these things are chemicals anyway. That's what they truly be. That's how narcissistic and sick these people are. So that is the beehive. It's just another thing that you'll see out there. And like I said earlier, the owl was never really this huge symbol, right? You always saw it if you, research the stuff at Bohemian Grove. You see a lot of celebrities tattooed with the owl, and it's not because it's their favorite pet. But now you're seeing the owl pushed in the mainstream. All of these Masonic symbols, like the beehive, they're just going to become regular and popular symbols. All of a sudden, owls are on every pillow, on everybody's table in their houses is an owl statuette, pictures of owls, right? And it doesn't mean the people who are buying these things are Masons or Satanic. They don't have a clue. They don't realize they're being indoctrinated with these symbols, that they're making these symbols, which are so sacred to them, normal, right? Because all this stuff will be normal. The 666, the pyramid, the all-seeing eye, all this stuff is becoming normal, right? Because they're pushing it out there, they're desensitizing people to it. They're not telling you what it really means. Meanwhile, people are just going along with it, not questioning why all of a sudden there's owls all over. Soon it'll be beehives. Soon it'll be other stuff. So it's important, in my opinion, to know some of these things just so you can see it, to kind of have that mindset of always being in a conscious state and seeing these types of symbols, whether it's in architecture, whether it's in music videos, whether you're seeing it pushed on TV, you're seeing it pushed on, in stores, if you're seeing it in magazines, and they're saying the newest trend is the owl. Well, realize why it's the newest trend and what they're trying to do. Because by exposing these signs and symbols, it really does help people wake up. I thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.